Today on Sports Central, we'll be going over our Week 3 NFL game predictions for the 2020 season. And as we always do, we're going to be going over every game for Week 3 here in this video, along with my prediction on each one of them, along with a quick preview and how much I think each team is going to win by. That being said, let's get into it. Starting out with your Thursday night game, of course, we have the Dolphins and the Jaguars. And this will not be posted before the Thursday night game, but I have to go with the Dolphins on that one in a close one. We also got the Texans and the Steelers. Steelers are currently favored by 4 there. And I think the Steelers do get a win there at home against Houston. I think the Texans, they've had a brutal schedule so far. They've had to play both the Chiefs and the Ravens, which both those teams are arguably the best teams in the NFL right now. So the Texans have had it really rough so far. They're sitting at 0-2. But I think the Steelers this season are actually looking pretty good. They've had a couple of good wins so far. Steelers get the win there in the end in a close one against the Texans. We also got the Washington football team. They're going to be traveling to Cleveland to play the Browns. And, of course, the Browns are favored by 7 there. I've got the Browns winning this one, too, pretty easily. I think Washington does hang around for a decent amount of this game. But I think especially in the second half, the Browns will take off, and they're going to get a win here by at least 10 points. We got the Bears and the Falcons. Of course, the Falcons are going to be at home again after dropping a very tough game to the Cowboys. We saw Dallas completely just fall last week. They were down 20-0 at one point, but then the Falcons completely they completely shut down on their end. Then in the second half, the Cowboys came all the way back and got a huge win. So it looks like currently the Falcons are at 0-2. Meanwhile, the Bears are looking pretty good at 2-0. I've got the Bears winning this one. I'm going to go against the spread here. I think the Falcons are looking pretty good. Or they're not really looking pretty good. They're already 0-2. They're not even a winning team yet. And I think that they definitely could get a win here. This is definitely a game that the Falcons could win. But I got the Bears winning this one in the end. I think the Bears, I think these two teams will go back and forth quite a bit. And I wouldn't surprise me a single bit to see Atlanta get the win here. Obviously, Atlanta's had a pretty tough schedule so far. But I've got the Bears winning this one. I think the Bears in general are looking pretty good so far. Mitch Trubisky's playing decently well. So I'm going to go with the Bears in that one over the Falcons. Rams and Bills, two pretty good teams. Bills are favored by 2 there, and it's going to be at home for the Buffalo Bills. And the Rams are looking really good as well. They're sitting at 2-0, and they've got a couple of really good wins under their belt. They beat off the Eagles pretty easily last week, and then they beat off the Cowboys in Week 1. So the Rams are looking really good, and they played on the road in Philadelphia last week, so they've got another big road trip in Buffalo. So the Bills are going to be at home for this one. I've got the Bills winning this one, though. I think the Rams are going to hang around for the majority of this one, but I think the Bills in general, after a short week for the Rams, I've got the Bills winning this one by a short amount. It's going to be by 10 or under, but the Bills are going to get a huge win against the Rams in Week 3. We also got the Titans and the Vikings. This game is going to be in Minnesota. The Vikings, of course, are off to an 0-2 start, not looking too good. Well, the Titans, on the other hand, are looking really good, and I'm going to give them the win here. I think the Titans do go in to Minnesota and get a big win. It's going to be a close one, but it will be a win. Got the Raiders and the Patriots. Of course, the Pats are going to be at home for this one. They looked really good in their loss to Seattle last week. Of course, the Patriots and Cam Newton have had a lot of uncertainties coming into the season. And I do understand that they did lose last week, but they looked really good. Both teams in general looked really talented last week. And so I've got the Patriots winning this one over the Raiders pretty easily. The Raiders are looking really good too. Don't sleep on the Raiders this season. They beat off the Saints last week pretty easily. They shut down the Saints offense straight up. So yeah, if the Raiders can do that against the Patriots, expect the Raiders to hang around and possibly get a win to go on at 3-0. But I think the Patriots do get the win here in the end. The Patriots in general, I think, are the better team. They've got more talent than the Raiders, but Las Vegas will hang around for the majority of that one. You got the 49ers and the Giants, and I went back and forth on this one, believe it or not. I think the 49ers, they lost already to the Jets, I believe, in Week 1. So, the 49ers are in a tough situation. Well, actually, no, they beat the Jets last week. They just had a really bad loss in Week 1. I can't really remember who it was to, but I do know that they faced a pretty terrible loss. However, they're having to travel again to New York, this time to play the Giants. Should be an interesting matchup here. I've got the 49ers winning in the end, but I think it's going to be by a decent amount as well. I think the Giants, they've got a lot to rebuild on. They've got a lot of work on as well. I just don't see them beating the 49ers in Week 3. Some notable games of Week 3 on this slide. You've got Houston and Pittsburgh. That's going to be a big one. You also got the Rams and the Bills, and then the Seahawks and the Cowboys. Obviously, that's going to be a huge matchup, which we'll get into in a second. But as far as the second half of your games go, we got the Bengals and the Eagles. I've got Philly winning this one. Of course, they're favored by 5. I think they bounce back this week and get a big win over the Bengals, but it will be very close. Got the Jets and the Colts as well. Colts are currently favored by 11.5 in this one. The spread is extremely favoring the Colts here. And I think it's going to be closer than what the spread is saying, but I think that the Colts do get the win in the end by at least 10. You got the Panthers and the Chargers. Chargers get the win there in the end over the Panthers. Panthers are not looking very good. They're pretty beat up too. They don't have Christian McCaffrey for this week, so I think the Chargers get an easy win over the Panthers. You got the Buccaneers and the Broncos as well. This is going to be a close one, and it could be a tricky matchup for the Buccaneers. The Broncos are always a tough place to play, or Denver's always a tough place to play. And for the Buccaneers, looking, of course, they're 1-1 right now. They lost to the Saints in week 1, but in week 2 they look decent. So I mean, who knows? They could have a blowout here, but I think it's going to be a close matchup. But Buccaneers get the win in the end. You got the Lions and the Cardinals as well. Cardinals are looking very good. I'd say the Cardinals are a top 10 team in the NFL right now. They're favored by 5.5 in this one. I've got the Cardinals beating off Detroit at home in or at 425 on week 3. I think the Lions this season, obviously they lost last week to the Packers by 21. I think they lost by 3 touchdowns to a great Green Bay team. So I mean, for them having to travel on the road again, this time to Arizona, I just don't think it sets up very well. Cardinals get an easy win. Got the Cowboys and the Seahawks. The Seahawks are going to get the win here. They're favored by 5 already. And the Cowboys, obviously, after a pretty sloppy win in Atlanta, obviously they had a great second half for them to come back from being down like 20. But still, you can't do that every game. You can't get down by 20 and expect to come back every single time. So I've got the Seahawks winning this one. I think the Cowboys are a decent team. They're not going to be great by any means, but I think the Seahawks, they're just on too much of a roll right now to lose to the Cowboys, in my opinion. Then you got a couple of big-time games coming up for your primetime games. You got the Packers and the Saints on Sunday night. Saints are favored by 3 here. And the Saints, I mean, this is a very important game for both these teams. I mean, for the Packers, sitting undefeated right now, looking really good. This could be a great chance to get their first big win of the year. And for the Saints, on the other hand, if you think about it, if the Saints lose this game, they're 1-2. They lost to the Raiders last week in a very terrible loss. So this would be a terrible loss for the Saints if they ended up dropping this game too. But I think in the end, every arrow points to the Packers winning this game. I mean, as far as stats go. But I got to go with the Saints. And the main reason for that is because of Drew Brees. I don't think Drew Brees is going to let this Saints team drop another game. I think that Drew Brees is going to be super motivated. He's going to get his team to a win here against the Packers. However, I think the Packers in the end, I mean, the Pack definitely have a better stat line, and they also are more favorable to win this game, in my opinion. But I think the Saints being at home, also with Drew Brees, it's going to help them a ton. Saints get the win in the end. And then you got the major game of the week with the Chiefs and the Ravens. That's going to be a great game. Of course, both teams I'd consider to be your top 2 teams in the league right now. And then, of course, you got the Ravens being favored by 3.5. I mean, the Ravens are the better team right now, just straight up. I will just say that. And then with the Ravens being at home as well, I think that's going to help them. The Ravens are going to get the win in the end over the Chiefs. The Chiefs will drop their first game in a very long time. Obviously, the Ravens have blown out both their opponents so far. Meanwhile, the Chiefs, on the other hand, almost lost to the Chargers last week. So I'm going to go with the Ravens here. I think Baltimore does get the win in the end at home on Monday night. But it's going to be a great matchup. Definitely one of the best ones of the year. And it's going to be a fun matchup between both those teams there. Some notable games of week 3. You got the Houston Texans and the Steelers. You got the Rams, Bills. Then you also have the Cowboys and the Seahawks, followed by the Packers and the Saints. Then lastly, of course, you got the Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. But anyway, that about wraps up our Week 3 NFL game predictions. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on these. If you disagree with anything here, I'd like to hear your thoughts. But yeah, then again, thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you all later.